Good morning, dear hearts. We are on lesson 160. Please subscribe. The lesson is I am at home. I am at home. Fear is the stranger here. And right off the bat, I'm going to say we link this lesson with lesson 48 from our first 50. And lesson 48 is there is nothing to fear. I'm going to read from lesson 48 is a very short lesson. It's only 3 paragraphs, and you go, I remember the day. So the last paragraph in 48 is the presence of fear is a sure sign you are trusting in your own strength, because if I am fearful, it is because I have aligned my mind and the belief of who I am with the ego, and indeed that is fearful. The lesson begins, today's lesson begins, fear is a stranger to the ways of love. Identify with fear and you will be a stranger to yourself. You won't know who you are. And in lesson 139, we were told that the only thing that can be surely known by any living thing is what it is. But if we are identifying ourselves with a fearful persona, then we don't know who we are. And how horrible to be wandering the world not knowing our identity. And that would be with a big I. The lesson says, there is a stranger in our midst who comes from an idea so foreign to the truth. He speaks a different language, looks upon a world truth does not know, and understands what truth regards as senseless. Stranger yet, he does not recognize to whom he comes. And he maintains his home, this home belongs to him while he is alien. Who now is home? Who is home if I don't know who I am? And yet how easy it would be to say, this is my home, here I belong, and will not leave because a madman says I must, because the ego is telling me, no, you don't belong here, you don't belong here. But yet God is telling me that I do. So why would I listen to the ego? Let me instead turn to my Father who says, yes, my child, you are at home. Paragraph 4. There's a few paragraphs in this lesson. I will read in their entirety. Again, a beautiful lesson. Who is the stranger? Is it fear or you who are unsuited to the home which God provided for his Son? Is fear his own, God's own, created in God's likeness? Is it fear that love completes and is completed by? There is no home can shelter love and fear. Love and fear cannot be roommates. They will not coexist. They are not in the same home. They cannot coexist. No home can shelter love and fear. They cannot coexist. If you are real, then fear must be an illusion. And if fear is real, then you do not exist at all. Another syllogism from the first and the second part. Both must be true. If you are real, fear is the illusion. And if fear is real, then you do not exist. So which is it? I am going to vote on fear is the illusion. And when I'm believing in the illusion, now I do not know where I am because I cannot be at home with God because love and fear cannot coexist. How simply then the question is resolved. Who fears but has denied himself and said, I am a stranger here, and so I leave my home to one more like me than myself. Is that possible? There's someone more like you than you? And as we're wandering around, what do we search for? What can he find? A stranger to himself can find no home wherever he may look, for he has made return impossible. This reminds me, and I often bring in some things of this world, some things that are known in this world, stranger in a strange land, that he was wandering this world and was not at home. He was taken from his home, and now he wandered, wanting to go back to his home. We are the same. We are strangers here, but we are residents in truth. So the miracle will come, and the miracle is going to come because Christ is looking for his brothers. And for in his home, his self remains. Our true self has not left home. It asked no stranger in and took no alien thought to be itself. There is that part of our mind that knows that we are still one with God, which we can go back to lesson 48 again. It says that the awareness that there is nothing to fear shows that somewhere in your mind, though not necessarily in a place that you recognize as yet, you have remembered God and let his strength take the place of your weakness. So somewhere in our mind, even if we don't realize it or recognize it, we still have the remembrance of God within us. So who is the stranger? He is not the one yourself call. Is he not the one yourself calls not? Ah, I love Shakespeare. You are unable now to recognize the stranger in your midst, for you have given him your rightful place. So we feel like we've switched places with ourself and allowed the stranger to come in, and now we are the one who feel as though we are homeless. Yet is yourself as certain of its own as God is of his Son. So there, deep within, we still know always who we are. We cannot be confused about creation, and God is sure of what belongs to him. No stranger can be interposed between his knowledge and his Son's reality. He does not know of strangers. God does not know of strangers. He is certain of his Son. Paragraph 8, 9, and 10 I will read. God's certainty suffices. Who he knows to be his Son belongs where he has set his Son forever, at home in heaven. He has answered you who ask, who is the stranger? Hear his voice. Assure you quietly and sure that you are not a stranger to your Father, nor is your Creator stranger to you. Whom God has joined, remain forever one, at home in him, no stranger to himself. It reminds me of the marriage vows, whom God has joined. Whom God has joined, let no ego come between, because we are joined one with God, and no ego truly can come between us and our Father. Today we offer thanks that Christ has come to search the world for what belongs to him, his vision, and his vision is the miracle, as we read in yesterday's lesson. His vision sees no stranger, but beholds his own and joyously unites with them. Christ, our elder brother, knows his siblings. He knows his extension, really. His extension. He knows that we are one with him and one with his Father, our Father. They see him as a stranger and joyously unites with them. They see him as a stranger, for they do not recognize themselves. Yet as they give him welcome, they remember. We may not immediately recognize our elder brother, but as we spend some time, it's like, oh, there you are. Now I remember. Now I know who you are. And he leads them, his brothers, gently home again where they belong. He leads us where we belong. Not one does Christ forget. And this is a really beautiful, and as the world is right now, with so many people not seeing that we are all joined, this is a very important paragraph. Not one does Christ forget, not one he fails to give you to remember, that your home may be complete and perfect as it was established. He has not forgotten you, but you will not remember him until you look on all as he does. We must learn to see all of our brothers as one, because that is the way Christ does. That is the way God does. Who denies his brother is denying him, denying Christ, denying God, and thus refusing to accept the gift of sight by which his self is clearly recognized, his home remembered, and salvation come, and atonement come at one-ment, until we gather in everyone and we don't exclude anyone. We cannot get home. We cannot truly remember who we are because we are seeing separateness. We must be all-inclusive. God is all-inclusive. Not one does Christ forget. Not one do we forget. That's it for today. I hope it helped. Please like, please share, please subscribe, please comment, please pray. Some new flowers. Just pray that all of us have the willingness to be all-inclusive, because deep inside we remember that indeed we are one and there is nothing to fear, and we are home together. Fear, separateness is the stranger here. Namaste.